This is Reset Your Buttons with Mary Elizabeth Murphy. Today's episode is a journey with Floyd Isley through his roles as sales director and sales manager across several hotel properties. And now, here is Mary Elizabeth.
So, Floyd.
Really? You're going to start with so?
So, I'm going to start with so. So, how you doing?
Oh, that's a completely different podcast. We can have that conversation sometime, but that's a different conversation.
That is a different conversation.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited because we're here at Focal Groove, and you and I have talked about this for a while.
Yes.
And in fact, it was a conversation that you and I had about the really great deep conversations we have. And I said, hey, we should be doing a podcast. And then I remembered, oh, wait, I have a podcast.
You did.
And then I remembered, we should maybe reboot the podcast.
Right.
And then you and I gave that a little bit of an attempt. And then
I would say a valiant effort.
A valiant effort. Okay. And then.
Yeah. And then we realized they're professionals who do that kind of thing.
And we got to meet them.
Yeah.
And now we're here in their beautiful studio in downtown Concord, North Carolina.
Much to my surprise.
Yeah.
Adorable downtown.
Yes.
Great studio.
Yep.
Yeah.
And good people to work with.
I feel legit.
Okay. All right. So in our professional legit space.
That seems like a lot of work, a little heavy lift.
I know. We want to talk about today for our listeners. Reset Your Buttons is a lot about life journey, and it could be a situational reset, or it can be a career reset, or it can be a life reset. And with you and I, we've been friends for a long time and have been so blessed to walk each other through some resets.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think I want to share that we met when you were the catering manager, director,
sales manager,
convention services at the Embassy Suites in Concord.
Yes.
And at the time, one of my clients was an association, and I was responsible for helping to run the trade show and the board, and I was the executive director, and you were the person that always made sure that the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed and everything went smoothly. And if my hair was on fire, you were there with the fire extinguisher. So, and we had the most significant incident in that was for me, well, we had two. There was the time when we moved an entire trade show from the inner circle, the Speedway garages, due to an ice storm, to your hotel overnight.
Yes.
That was pretty impressive. That was pretty impressive. And that was a big reset story. We may or may not tell that this time, but that was a big reset story. But it'd be a good story to tell today, maybe.
I know, it's that time of year.
I know.
With this recent ice, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and the snowstorms. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll tell it. The other story I wanted to start with, though, that really cemented our relationship and also just speaks to who you are as a human, is the story where we were going to have our board's executive strategic planning session. And I called you and I said, I need to make some arrangements because I'm not going to be able to be there. And you said, I don't mean to pry, but can I ask what's going on? And I said, well, yes, and you're not prying. And I said, well, my mother's just had a heart attack and I need to get on a plane and I need to get to Chicago. And you said to me, hang up the phone. And I said, but wait. And you said, I've got this. Have Gary drop off the flip chart. And even if he has to go with you, I got flip charts here. We've got this. You're held. Get on the plane, go. And I knew in that moment that you did. Mm-hmm. And I hung up the phone and I went. And you took care of everything. You took care of my board. You took care of the event. You took care of it all. And to be able to have a friend, let alone a professional friend, I want to underline the professional part of it, because that's how do I say this? I know how loved I am by you. And I also know that's your standard for everybody you work with. You show up for people and make sure that their events, their whatever you can support them in, you are that person who does that. And so when people talk about hospitality and Floyd Isley and Floyd's Hotels, which will come later, you walk your talk, you live it.
You taught me something, or we discussed something, early in our relationship. And it was one of those things where the phrase in my mind was, whatever is important to someone else is just as important to you as they are to you.
Aww.
So when you say, I have a meeting that needs to be taken care of, that meeting is just as important to me as you are to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I may not be individually invested in whatever that thing is.
Right.
But it's as important to me as you are to me.
Yeah.
And that's just been, I've carried that. And that's been kind of my mantra.
Yeah. Yeah. It's who you are, and I think that's, and okay. Now we'll take the little angel wings and halo off for a minute. Because, it's hard. It's hard to show up like that all the time for people.
I missed a step this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it, or you want to?
I'd be glad to.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got this group that's been coming to the hotel forever. Mm-hmm. And when I say forever, like from when I was there the first time.
Right.
Super nice folks, right? Great group of folks. Professionals, they're organized, blah, blah, blah. And something happened this year. And the primary contact's expectation was not met.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if it was a legitimate expectation or not, right?
Right.
That's not the point. The point is the expectation wasn't met. And Thursday late last week, he used a word in an email. He said that he was disappointed.
Oh.
In me. He was specifically disappointed in me that he was having to deal with this. It's not huge. It really is not huge. But again, it's that important to him. So it's got to be that important to me as it is to him. And he was disappointed. And it totally pressed that button for me, right?
Right.
That approval button, that,
you missed his expectation.
Yes,
you disappointed him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I've been fighting that for 4 days now, because even over the weekend, maybe you're off the clock, whatever that means these days.
Right.
But you're still dealing with, how can I fix this? How can I make it right? How can I help him understand that his expectation may have been just a little bit off the mark?
Right.
I can't give you something that physically doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, being able to share our story, our origin story, if you will, for the listeners is important, because that's also, as people know, why I wrote Reset Your Buttons and why it became the work that it did. Because my mother always said, why do people push your buttons? So it is such a special opportunity that we get to be here and helping to launch and reboot the podcast. You've had quite the career in the years that I've known you, and within hospitality. And so do you want to just maybe start talking about that, and then we can go back and, again, talk a little bit more about the model and the buttons and where things get pushed, and we'll tell a few stories and have a few laughs, and hopefully our listeners will gain some things that will be true for them and help them as they reset their buttons.
Sure. It's funny. If you know me, you know that I've had a bit of a multifaceted, if you will, career, right? Like, I've held a lot of positions. Most of the companies that I have worked for, I've worked for more than once, and in different roles and those kinds of things. I have a lot of support at home. I have a lot of, we're in a good place where I can take chances.
Yeah.
I can explore options. My family is very supportive of me saying, I want to try this, or I want to do this, or I'm very interested in this. And they're like, go try it out.
Right.
It's a job. And my mother, I come from a family of mostly self-employed individuals, and they have always preached, if you like what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
Right.
Right. And so I'm not the kind of guy who's going to be self-employed. Tried that. Wasn't a fan. But I do very much lean into, it's very important to like what you do.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to spend a lot of time doing it. So I say all of that to kind of frame the fact that, when you and I met, I was a catering sales manager, had opened the Embassy Suites in Concord.
Yep.
That was the coolest experience probably ever, right?
Yeah.
Because I was there before the carpet was there.
Yeah. Fun.
I remember walking into that big ballroom and just having the biggest smile on my face like I had just won the lottery.
Yeah.
And I got to be the expert. I knew every corner. I knew the dimensions. I knew the capacities. I knew everything. And from there, obviously in business, when you do well, you get promoted. So I became a director of catering, which was fun, but it wasn't the same. It was managing people, and it was less interacting with clients.
Yeah.
And as much as I like to say that I'm an introvert, we all know that how much energy I get when I help other people.
Yes. Yeah.
I need that fuel in my tank. So I found my way making a semi-lateral move back over to sales. Became an association sales manager, did that for a couple of years in Concord. Again, you do something well, you get promoted. I was invited to become a director of sales. And it's the funniest thing. I remember a coworker looking at me and saying, "What are you doing? You said you never wanted to manage people again, and now you're going to go be a director of sales." I was like, "Oh, but this is going to be different."
This will be different. How famous? I was going to say, I want you to keep going, but when you said you'll never work a day in your life, well, that's so not true.
Right.
And also, but we tell ourselves that to keep us going, and then it'll be different, right?
Yeah. This time it'll be different.
Yep.
Famous last words.
Yep.
That I've said 100 times. But anyway.
No, you don't know. It's usually preceded with, no, you don't understand. This time it will be different.
Next time it will be different.
Yeah.
So no, I accepted this position as a director of sales, and it was not different. It was great. It was a wonderful learning opportunity, and I got to work with some people that I had worked with before in a different capacity, made some really good friends, all the things, right? All the good pieces. But ultimately decided that it was time to go back into a sales role, right? And for me, I've never really had to look for a job. That sounds so arrogant, but like the promotions were all offered to me. This area sales position in Winston-Salem, the person who was in the job was a peer of mine, a colleague, and she was leaving to go work for the CVB. And so it wasn't like she was quitting or, so she was kind of looking for her replacement.
Right.
And so she said, "Hey, I know you, and I know you're going to take care of my clients."
Yeah.
And with her going to the CVB, they were still going to be her clients. So it was very much of a,
Right. I want to pause you there just for a hot second, because isn't that true as well, right? Like when you want to hand something to someone else, and I've heard recently, and it'll be another podcast for another day, but I've heard a lot about how hard it is today to apply for jobs, how much things have really changed in the marketplace.
Yes.
And your story is about exactly that. Not only relationships that help, but will my successor, I guess, right?
Right.
Take care of what I've built.
Yes.
Will they build upon what I've created? And I think that's a whole nother story and podcast in itself. Yeah.
Because you want it to be a relay. Like you want to hand the baton to someone else who's going to run their lap just as hard as you ran yours.
Right.
And you want to do the same thing for someone else.
Right.
And so that's what I did in Winston-Salem, and had a great time phenomenal team, learned about working with a CVB in a way that I had never worked with before, because it was the big venue in a small town kind of situation. And really got to lean into kind of having a convention center, having multiple hotels, multiple brands, like being able to divide your attention. That was the first time I had to do that.
Okay.
Because you had 2 hotels and it was the same client, the same program, but it was still divided, right?
So for our listeners, so they, I need to remember to pause and break down some of this stuff because of what we know. So when you say 2 hotels, so at that point you were selling not only in the association market, you were selling different conferences?
I was focused on the association market.
Okay.
But I was doing local, state, national, and international. So it was anything that was association market specific.
Okay. And when you talk about 3 properties, you had a Hilton,
A Marriott,
and then there was also the convention center.
owned by the city. Yes.
Right. And then you're talking about the CVB. So when we talk about teams, right, there's a lot of external people that have to work well together. And I can only imagine that buttons probably get pushed within the communications of all of those things to have an event go off as successfully as the client expects it to be.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing that job. You take that job. You've got this experience now. You're working between 3 properties and a convention center and a CVB and loving it.
And loving it. And then COVID hits.
And then COVID hit.
And everything changes.
Yeah.
Our team of 21 becomes a team of 3. And we don't need to really, most people understand what that was, what that period was like.
Right.
And so coming out of that, the properties were rebuilding their sales teams and trying to figure out what that was going to look like, what the roles were going to be, those sorts of things. And for me, I think there really was this almost like I hesitate to use the word trauma, even little t trauma, but there was this weight that as long as I was there, I was going to carry that weight.
Okay.
It was almost like the memory of going through COVID with that team, so many just really unpleasant experiences.
Yeah.
We moved offices in the middle of COVID.
Right.
And when I say we moved offices, I mean 3 men moved 12 people's offices across the street because the movers didn't show up.
Oh, God.
That was just like one little couple of days.
Right.
In a 24-month period.
Right.
That was just one bad thing after the next.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I want to pause there too, because again, that's where it was so many unexpected things, right? Like there was no script. There was no, here's how we operate through a pandemic, and here's how we manage to keep the doors open, and here's how we, send those conferences away and figure out how to bring them back, and how do we continue to do our job for those that are going to continue to meet. I mean, so much was especially on the hospitality industry's shoulders, who also experienced, the hospitality industry has experienced at least 2 that I'm aware of in my career and lifetime. There was 9/11.
Right.
People stopped traveling. Probably the Great Recession has impacted it significantly, and then the pandemic. So it's a very resilient type of person, I think, who can be successful in that industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And not that it's the only industry full of resilient people, but yes, in order to have been able to navigate all of that and come out and still have a heart for hospitality. I don't mean the folks who are going through the motions because it's the only job they're ever going to have, and there are a few of those.
Right.
But there are so many still in the industry who still have that heart for hospitality.
Yeah.
That they just care.
Right.
And it's the kind of thing that just makes a difference.
Right.
Lights up the day. Anyway, it's a beautiful thing to see that when it happens. And I fortunately get to see it on a regular basis. But I did go through a phase there where I just didn't feel it.
Yeah.
Like it was just, I needed something different. And I wasn't looking, but there was a big box down the street that knew about my reputation and was very eager to have me come aboard.
Okay.
And so we made arrangements for that to happen. And then, I mean, that's just a very unique situation. I started in an organization the day after their main director. And when I say main director, the man who was the cornerstone of that entire organization passed away on Saturday, and I started on Monday.
Wow.
So he hired me.
Wow.
He and I had a conversation about what my role would be.
Right.
He passed away very unexpectedly.
Right.
Very unfortunate because he really was the heart and the soul and the backbone of that team.
Right.
And probably to a fault, if I can say that respectfully.
Yeah.
Meaning that I don't know that it was really ready to move forward without him.
Yeah, it sounds like he was the foundation that people stood on.
And he had
Right.
started to put things in place for his retirement down the road,
Right.
but not for a sudden exit, which happened. And so I'm there, and all of that just makes a sharp left, right?
Right.
First of all, there's weeks of trying to figure out just how they're going to come to work every day. And then after that, there's the realization that the conversation that he and I had is not
What's happening?
part of the new plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that creates a lot of anxiety. Like, I need to be successful. I've always been successful. My hard work always pays off.
Right.
And here I am, not sure what my footing is.
Yeah.
And so,
So again, I want to pause again because I think I don't want to step over the importance of and I'm going to use the term PTSD only because I've been hearing it a lot lately in different conversations I've had with some people. So it's been in my orbit.
right.
And I do think that anxiety and wellness and all the things that we are still talking about are hugely important. I mean, it is a big part of reset. It's part of the recognize. And so I love that you're pointing to it. Recognize that something was off. And in that something being off, I wasn't sure that I either wanted to or could continue to do what I've always done. And I'm making this up here, so shape it for you. But for me, in my most recent life reset, is because I don't know that I can meet the expectations that I have for myself. I don't have it in me right now to keep doing it the way I've always done it. And I don't know what the new way is going to look like.
Right.
Right. And then when we talk about values and emphasize core values and reset, and we talk about take stock, a lot of those places are the places where also the saboteur starts to play with us, right?
Yes.
And starts to take those values. And you just said it. I couldn't be successful in the way that I know myself to be successful. And that was weighing on me. And
the saboteur wants you to believe that
it's your fault.
you can only be successful one way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I could have stayed in that role and figured it out and been successful in a very different way.
Yeah.
Right? I could have leaned into some soft skills that I have, but that aren't strong for me.
Right.
I could have done dialing for dollars,
Right.
7.5 hours a day.
Right.
That level of discipline, that sort of thing. And had I not had another option, I would have.
Well, but let's pause there again for a second, because you were just saying earlier about how, you feel like or have been qualified as an introvert, but you're fueled by being an extrovert. And knowing myself, like, I don't know, or if I do, I know very few people in my life, in my career path and journey, that love dialing for dollars. Right. It's a very lonely role. It's very, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know a few.
Yeah.
And it's not the dialing for dollars that they enjoy. It's the hunt.
Oh.
It's I will be persistent enough to go through this haystack
Right.
and find the needle.
Right.
I'm going to find the one person who wasn't aware of the product that I have to offer, and that I am the reason why they have decided to do business with the hotel or the city or the county or whatever.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we call those salespeople hunters,
Okay.
and it's a real, it's a
That's
real
their drive.
That's
It's
their
what-
personality. Like
Yeah.
they don't want the 300 person meeting that picks up the phone and calls and says, "I'd like to rebook for next year,"
Right.
because that's just busy work.
Okay.
They want to find that 50 person meeting that may not be the most valuable
Okay.
revenue wise,
Okay.
but it's on the right dates, or it's got the right pattern, or they didn't know about my hotel, or I was able to pair them with another group and it just created this synergy in the hotel.
Yeah.
And we were able to match menus, and one group was checking out and the other group was checking in, and there was a nice
Yeah.
space for like they
Yeah.
want to solve that problem.
Solve the problem. That's exactly what I
Right.
was just thinking. It's like it's almost a drive of, I know just how to make this work.
Right.
And I'll find the unique client and the way to do that. And it is about the win of that, right? And yet you have a different perspective of the win.
Yes. Yes. I am more of I need to help somebody.
Okay.
And I'm not looking for the unique individual who needs specific help.
Right.
I'm looking to help everyone who comes across my path.
Okay.
So as those leads come in, I'm trying to find the best way to partner their needs with what the hotel has available, so it's a win-win.
Okay.
And trying to do that for as many groups as possible.
Yeah.
And, there is a component of that I want to make individuals aware of what the hotels have to offer. Mm-hmm. Because that's helping solve a problem that they have.
Right.
That they've got a meeting or they need guest rooms or whatever that
Yeah.
may be. But part of it is I want to help educate them about what the hotel's looking for. So if you're creating a program and you're building it from scratch,
Right.
do not design a program that arrives on Tuesday and leaves on Thursday.
Right.
Hotels don't like that
How come?
because you're breaking up their full week pattern. So you're displacing the opportunity to book 2 meetings where your one meeting is going to go in the middle of the week. So if you're coming in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
Okay.
and another group is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I can fit 2 groups in the same week.
Okay.
Nobody's going to meet on Sunday. But if you want to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then I don't have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I don't have Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So the revenue for the hotel isn't there. Therefore, you can't offer the program for the association or the small business or the conference or the whatever, because it's just not going to be a win-win all the way around.
Or you're going to be paying premium.
Or you're going to be paying premium. Okay.
Or and the other option is that if you're really flexible on your dates, then maybe I can find where we do have a group that's just Sunday, Monday.
Right.
And they leave Tuesday, and you can be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
But then those are few and far between.
Yeah.
So you can't say I need to be the 3rd week of March.
So that's another back to expectations and reset your buttons,
Right.
So you and the hotel and the revenue people and the catering service and the staff, all the different components that you have to look at when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to bring you a piece of business. I want to have a conference at your hotel."
Right.
And you, in your very gifted way, get to say, well, okay, let's take a look at that first. And what are some of your parameters and where can we work together?
Right.
Versus having an attitude. I know I did at first. I was like, what do you mean you don't want my piece of business? and that was part of what I learned early on as a executive director with an association, that our association was local. So I guess would be considered local or regional, didn't need overnight rooms.
Right.
So then, and this is why we know we could have many podcasts, because there's a whole conversation about just understanding how do we manage the expectations of the client? How do you manage the expectations of your staff on your side? How do you manage all of that in your career for the sake of a good outcome of all concerned? And so I really want to come back to what we were just talking about as far as you're beginning to recognize your sense of self and your core values, taking stock of it all around, I'm not feeling this, that it's in the way that I naturally can be successful. Does that sound
Yes.
accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So then what happened?
So then my former employer had been in touch and basically said, "You're welcome back anytime."
Okay.
And so when things weren't really working out, I chose to go back to Winston-Salem. There was some new staffing, some new opportunities. Went back and tried it again. And it wasn't, exactly what I expected. I think that at that phase or at that point in my career, so first of all, I was a little off center, right? Like I had just been bumped by COVID. And so I was still trying to get my feet back underneath me. And part of going from company A to company B, back to A and back to B, were all projecting expectations.
Okay.
Right? Like, so when someone said it's going to be different, I didn't ask how and why. I said, good, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm jumping in both feet. I'm going to close my eyes and hold my breath, and it's going to work out.
What? Yeah. No idea what different meant.
And I think it's also important to underscore that they were all good people who were telling me not what I wanted to hear, but what they believed.
Right.
So I left A and went to B for this role that didn't exist because the person wasn't there anymore who created it. And then I went back and I was hired before my director of sales was hired. And I was told that he was going to be this kind of person, but they didn't know.
Right.
He hadn't even started.
Right.
And then he comes in and he's given this guy that he has to work with that's already left. And now he's coming back. So he's got some thoughts about that, I'm sure.
Right.
And that didn't pan out. And so then company B's like, hey, we've got this different opportunity.
Right.
We want you to sell all 3 of our hotels.
Right. So I'm going to pause you there for a hot minute because you said something else that's really important in the workplace. When people meet each other and start to become friends or date, right? We have the time.
We frown on that in the workplace.
We frown on that in the workplace. Yeah.
I didn't say we don't do it. I just said we frown on it. We're kind of judgy about it.
Right. Different rules, different podcasts.
Just hospitality.
Right. But we get to build the relationship almost on our own timeline. And when people get hired into the workspace, it's love each other right now. We're going to work together as a team. We're going to be great. And part of that is because it's needed, right?
Right.
But we throw words like we're a team and we're this, and we throw the values out that the organization has. And I don't know that we always do the best job. I do know this. I know that from the clients that I've worked with, that we don't always do the best job of really not just articulating the mission and the vision and the value statement, but working with the people who work for us to find out what part of that do they buy into? Right? Do they believe in? What does that mean for me? How can I align with it? And you just gave a perfect example of, I got hired into a role that was most likely a good role for me to work with somebody who was supposed to be great for us to work together, but that was other people's opinions of that relationship. It was up to the two of you to build the relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very much his reputation versus my reputation, right? And it's funny because, so he and I were never steadfast friends, right? Like that wasn't how our relationship evolved. But when I no longer worked with him, I had the opportunity to hear some feedback from his funeral. And it was just, now obviously we say the best about folks at the funeral, but the testimonial at his funeral about who he was, I was like, if I had known that guy for a minute, it would have changed everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that he wasn't that person, or I wasn't the person that he was told I was going to be. It's just that
You didn't get to meet them.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
This is why we have such great conversations.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get to meet those people.
Right.
Wow.
It's funny because I talk to him all the time
Now. Yeah.
because I'm like, yeah, I remember when you said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
So you learned some more.
I did.
Yeah. And again, you do such a great job of learning. One other point I want to make here too also, because I really don't want to step over the impact of the pandemic and the changes and the fact that you went into work every day.
Yes.
And we had our heroes that went into work every day. And we also had heroes who stayed home and continued to do the work as well. There came a point in time after everything opened back up and the world seemed to, kind of straighten itself up again, that there was a lot of talk about, and myself included, where those of us who kind of shouldered through.
Right.
And it's not that everybody didn't shoulder through, so I don't want to minimize that at all.
Completely
But
agree.
coaches, consultants, counselors, our first responders, the people that kept the doors open, were so focused on what do we need to do next to survive this, not only for ourselves but for our people, that once it got back to normal, they started to, as you talked about, just weren't as steady, weren't as strong. Like, we're starting to feel their version of PTSD, of the aftershock of, wait a minute, what was that? And why am I feeling anxious? And why am I feeling like this is just harder than it was before?
It's almost like during COVID, I put my foot on the gas. I mean, like literally, we went from 21 people to 3 or 4 people. One of them retired shortly after we made that transition, so we were down to 3. And our hours were cut, and our pay rate was cut.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
A lot of people did that too, yeah.
and I worked off the clock. I worked 50 hours a week, trying to just keep afloat.
Right.
All that was by choice. There was no pressure. There was no reward. There was no incentive. It was just easier to do that than it was to think about the reality of what was going on around me. I think what's interesting is, for some of us who were in that lane, that no one ever threw the caution flag and said, take your foot off the gas. As folks were coming back, we never had enough help.
Right.
You never had enough hospitality folks. We lost so much hospitality talent during COVID, folks who had to find other jobs, find other careers, and didn't come back to hospitality. Yeah. So there was never okay, I've got the baton, take an easy lap, and then we'll all meet up and run together. No, it was, you kept going and you kept going, and you never slowed down. And
we talk about, I talk about choice in Reset, right? And it is that, and you and I had this conversation in which I had an aha about the model that we have, which is the self-directed versus other-directed, and the have to versus the get to, right? And for years, I always taught it as, there is no have to. There's always get to. Even if you think your have to is a have to, you're still making the choice.
Right.
And I mean, like, I remember the moment we were driving down to Charleston, I think, and And all of a sudden, it was like this. Like when, yes, your have-tos are still choices, but when the choice becomes the only thing you can manage in your have-to is to get out of bed and get a glass of water that day. Or I have to go into work because I'm choosing this have-to because I need to keep the roof over my head. In Reset, I talk about if we can begin to understand that our have-tos are always still our choices. And that's what you're saying. You're saying the foot was on the gas to keep going. No one told us to take it off, but that wasn't anyone's fault.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, it was no one's job.
Right.
It just was how it evolved.
Right.
It was like, I don't know, you're so busy being busy, and you almost become immune to how you feel.
Yeah.
Like you've just been doing it for so long,
Right.
that you forget that you can take Sunday off and go for a long walk and decompress and come back Monday refreshed.
Yeah.
Because you haven't done that in months.
For months, yeah. And again, we know more now today again about the amygdala, because part of that fuel that we were getting was the amygdala telling you have to in order to survive.
Right.
This is what we're doing to survive. So, okay. For the sake of time, where we can come back and do more of these things later, talk to us now about, someone stood up at a meeting?
So I'm going to be pretty careful today about company names and that kind of stuff, but this is going to be the one exception.
Okay.
Because Julie Campbell did what only Julie Campbell will do. And anyone who knows her knows that in her DNA, she's a coach.
Yeah.
She might be in hospitality and she might be all these things, but she's a coach.
Yeah. And wants the best for everybody.
Wants the best for everybody. We're all her kids. She's looking out for all of us. When we get out of line, she's going to tell us.
Yep.
And when we do well, she's going to reward us. She's going to
cheer your son.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm in a meeting, an industry meeting with, I don't know, 150, 200 industry peers, right?
Wow.
So it's GMID, Global Meetings Industry Day. We're at one of the big buildings in Charlotte, like not the Coliseum, but whatever. The
that
arena.
was the one at Panthers?
Yes, at Panther Stadium.
Okay.
And we're in this beautiful setting, and we're all networking, and it's like a little family reunion, and we're all whatever, and we're chatting, and I'm there representing the company that I worked for at the time, and Julie's there, and she is at a table with folks from Atrium Hospitality.
Okay.
And of course, she and I had worked together in the past, so she kind of stands up and says, "Hey, Floyd," and I'm like, "Hey, Julie, how you doing?" Like, we're 3 tables apart. And she's like, "I want you to see all these people. They're all with Atrium Hospitality." She's like, "Everyone, this is Floyd Isley. He's going to be working for Atrium Hospitality again one day."
Like she claims you. She declares it and claims you in that moment.
And it wasn't just the 7 of us who heard it.
In front of everybody,
yes,
including your current employer.
Right. And so they're all like, "Oh," and I'm like, I was like, "That's just Julie." And I mean, and really and truly, there was no plan. That was just Julie being Julie.
And she wanted you back.
She wanted me back.
Yeah.
And Julie and I had talked about this position, forever ago. When I was in sales back in Concord days, we had talked about how we had 3 embassy suites in North Carolina that were all Atrium Hospitality, and wouldn't it be nice if we could partner and get associations to rotate between the 3? And like we just had this vision, but 3 different P&Ls, 3 different directors, not a lot of ability to string that together.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's worried about their
bucket of gold.
Right. So.
And the logistics of it all.
Right. Like, how do you compensate one person for 3 hotels and blah, 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 and all those kinds of things.
Right.
So I'm working for a company, and, we're figuring things out, and it's this new role and blah, blah, blah. And I called Julie and said, "You want to have coffee?" She's like, "Sure." So I'm in Raleigh making sales calls and go have coffee with Julie. And she's like, "Yeah, we have this position." I think they had one in Texas. It was a regional sales position, area sales position. And basically we have a number of hotels in Texas, And the folks out there realized that they needed someone to sell all of those hotels to the state association market.
Right.
So they could get some synergy going.
Okay.
So they could have groups who would rotate through the hotels, but also this mindset that you could have one atrium person who is your ambassador at like an association executives organization like ANC in North Carolina.
We have Association Executives of North Carolina.
Right.
Yep. Where you also have quite the brand.
Yes. Well,
which is
time and energy and effort. Yeah.
Right.
We'll do that for you.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you're known within AENC, not as much about Atrium, but they're Floyd's hotels.
Yes. So my hotels are often referred to as Floyd's hotels instead of Atrium Hospitality Hotels.
Yeah.
Because I have the fortune of having an unusual first name. So it's very easy to do some branding around that. And they're my hotels.
They're your hotels.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's I'm also a member of Association Executives of North Carolina, and so I know how well loved and admired and liked you are. And you, over these years, have actually come to a place of the expert in the room. So whether people are even coming to you to be able to book with your property, they come to you with, I got a little bit of a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I like to help. So
Yeah.
that encourages that behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're about to unveil two big things, right? Speaking of AENC and the Concord Hotel where
Yes.
you started. So tell
Right.
us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So last late fall, we started a more than $20 million renovation for the Embassy Suites in Concord. That hotel will be 20 in 28.
Wow.
In January of 28. So she's ready.
Yeah.
For an updo. Complete renovation. All new
Top
guest
to bottom.
suites.
Back to
public
that
space.
standing in the empty conference center again.
Yes.
Yep.
Standing in the atrium with a crane and no water in the fountain. And like literally taking it down to the studs.
Wow.
Right. And there, of course, Embassy and Hilton as a brand have evolved. So there's new standards.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful modern spaces. They're all suites. So
Yeah.
they're perfect. But
Yeah.
great finishes, amenities, and then, of course, that big ballroom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal.
She's getting a new look. So super excited. Just sleek design,
Yep.
modern, what she needed.
Yeah.
She
And I also love that they kept because some Embassy Suites, when they refurbish, they kind of cut the rooms down a little bit. And I noticed that they've kept the rooms, the full square footage, and they look beautiful.
Yes.
And then we also have Visit Cabarrus that is supporting the event with association executives. And so they're coming here. Why are they all coming here? Why is it? Because they're usually up in Raleigh.
Well,
sometimes
so it's an interesting question. AENC has an annual meeting.
Right.
And that annual meeting moves around the state.
Okay.
So it's the one program that is an opportunity to step outside of Raleigh.
Right.
And partner with one of their peers.
Okay.
And so the individual destinations actually go through a bidding process, and they bid on hosting the annual meeting.
Okay.
And so there's some sponsorship involved, and certainly a lot of partnering, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not just going to have everything in one building. You're really going to go to a destination.
Yeah.
So when we were in the western part of the state, there was a whole experience. There was the golf outing. There was the hotel. There were all the
buses
amenities.
take you places. Yeah.
And even when we were in Wilmington years ago, again, separate convention center and assorted hotels that were part of that.
Right.
But then you had the downtown and you had the offsite events and you were on the boat and the whole 9 yards. So because of the renovation, we're really taking advantage of that energy. And quite frankly, the marketing dollars to promote the renovation,
Right.
to bring the AENC annual meeting to Cabarrus County.
Nice.
So we're partnering with Explore Cabarrus. There'll be events at Great Wolf Lodge. The Embassy Suites will be the host hotel. And then
Right.
Rocky River Golf Course will be the host for our
Golf outing.
So super excited about all that. And I'm sure there'll be some satellite events.
Right.
Either head into downtown Concord or go over to the mall, or there's just so many things to choose from. We have a big meeting coming up next month to start finalizing details. So
Yeah.
excited about that. But yeah,
Crossing.
so that's their annual meeting. And then, of course, they have a spring and a summer conference that are in Raleigh. So that's part of what you're thinking about. And then the
Right.
trade show's always at the convention center in Raleigh.
Yes. Yes.
When it happens.
Right. And thankfully that got restored
Yes.
this year. Talk about a reset your buttons moment.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
So, all right. What do we want to kind of close with? I think, thank you first off for sharing your journey and your story. Folks will have to wait to hear about the frozen overnight transition story another time.
Yes.
But you were faced with a lot of opportunities of do I stay or do I go? And I love that you were willing to share with us about kind of all the things that went into that.
Sure.
Right. And the bridge building of your reputation and why past roles really come to serve. If you were a listener right now, what do you think you might want to hear if you were someone who is listening to this podcast right now and be like, I've kind of felt like that, or I've been in that space, or if there was one or two things you might say to them, what might they be?
So if I were listening,
Yes.
and I had a question, that question would be, is there anything you would have done differently? I mean,
Yeah.
because hindsight's 20/20, right?
Right.
And because so many of the decisions that I made didn't last very long. Like 2 or 3 of those jobs were short
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
jobs. Like,
Yeah.
and so from the outside, that would look like,
Job hopping.
well, not only that, but they look like mistakes,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he wishes he hadn't done that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I tell you, I don't regret any of the decisions I made. If I had never taken on the director of sales role,
Right.
I would have wondered for the rest of my life what opportunity I threw away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a, it was so flattering.
Right.
It was such an honor to have someone who, at the time, had been my boss for years. She was being promoted to a general manager position.
Yeah.
And she pulled me aside and said, would you like to come with me as my director of sales?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I said yes.
Yes. I'm going.
And
And again, for our listeners, that also meant another 40-minute drive time back and forth.
I had
right?
finally gotten out of that hotel and a shorter commute. And here I am going back to the longer commute. And everybody's like, where the frickin' frack did that left turn come from?
Right.
Because that was not part of the plan. It was not even on the menu.
It wasn't on the career path plan. Yeah.
Right. I would have bet money and lost it that I would have never even considered a director role again, and certainly not in the opposite direction
Of where you
of
live.
my normal commute.
Right.
But it was meant to be,
Right.
clearly.
Yeah.
And it had to happen that way. That position allowed me to go to Winston-Salem at a much more advantageous position.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I learned a software system that I was going to need in Winston-Salem that I
Okay.
didn't know.
Right.
So that meant when I started in Winston, I was able to work all 3 systems, which we had to be in all 3 of them every time you did a booking.
Right.
And as a former director, didn't matter whether I was a good one or not, I was a former director.
Right.
So when I walked in, I had this credibility
Right.
with the team.
Right.
That
Right.
had I been coming from a single hotel to this 3-property complex,
Right.
everyone would have looked at me like, oh yeah, he's going to need some time to get his feet underneath him.
Right.
they all thought I was coming there to be their boss.
Wow. Because of your experience
Because of my
level.
experience, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like that set me up for such success in Winston-Salem.
Yeah. So what I hear with that is, again, it's if we can frame it and also look at it through the reset model, it is the opportunity and the lessons learned. If we moved away from the blaming, the fault finding, the being stuck, the amygdala keeping us in survival mode, don't do that because it's here, but don't take that. And I don't minimize that at all. I've talked a lot about that and will continue to. But the ability to say what might have felt like a failure, maybe even for a minute or for longer at the time, the beauty of being on this side of life is that we can look back at things and go, here's the lesson that I gained from it. And here's what I got and took and can apply going forward. And I said it in our first episode with Mark. That is really if there's a legacy chapter for any of us at any point in our life, like you mentioned two people and I mentioned my mother, I mean, people who we've lost suddenly and right. But we take the lessons from them. And now it's time to take our own. And whether you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60.
Easy.
Or more. We can always gain from that. We can always, if we're willing to take that moment to pause and breathe and reset and evaluate, what are our expectations? What is my sense of self? What are my core values? Is this a growth cycle or a maintenance cycle? And, finally, how do I disarm this? How do I look at what may feel like a have to and turn that into a choose to, a get to by thinking through the consequences of my decision and my choices?
Yeah. And I do want to add one more thing, and that would be that I don't want to discount how uncomfortable those days were when I was not in the right place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy today to say, oh, what a fabulous journey, because I'm happy where I am.
Right.
But I remember sitting in an office thinking, this is not for me.
Right. Right.
And I've got 7.5 hours left today.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And some of that was external. The situation with the passing of leadership. I mean, obviously that was very larger than life, right?
Right.
But I don't want to discount how difficult the journey can be.
And that's it. And that's why that aha moment on our trip, right, was that. Like sometimes the have to is nail biting, hanging on. I have 7.5 hours and it feels like absolute hell. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, right? My words, not yours. Because I've had those moments too. And so that's where what is the have to I need to choose to do to survive this right now? Yeah. Yeah. And then knowing that there's going to be another side to it.
Yeah. And lean into your friendships.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Folks will return your calls eventually.
Right. Well, and just lean into your friendships and be willing to say, I'm in my have to space.
Right.
Right. And I keep thinking about this as we're talking. So I'm going to close with this, again, a quote. I don't know who said it, but we're all walking each other home. And that's what you did for me that day. And I am so blessed to have a 20+ year friendship with you, because I don't think we'd be sitting here right now together if I didn't. So thank you, my friend.
Feeling is mutual, my friend.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Reset Your Buttons podcast with Mary Elizabeth Murphy. If you want to learn more about Star Resources, Reset Your Buttons, or have Mary Elizabeth speak at your next event, please submit a contact form at starresources.net/contact.